Watch and burn.
Hey everyone, so tonight I want to discuss Béla Tarr's final film, and this is The Turin Horse. Now, this came out a few years back, and so far, at least, it seems that his alleged retirement seems to be holding. It's kind of a odd time for legendary filmmakers like him and Hranitzky and Tarantino and Scorsese, because we're sort of finding ourselves at this transitional point where Tarantino's getting ready to call it quits, apparently. Béla Tarr's called it quits, apparently. Hranitzky and Scorsese, they're not getting any younger, and there just doesn't seem to be anything or anyone that strong waiting in the wings to sort of take over. It seems like, I don't know, the art of filmmaking is truly at a crossroads at this point. It seems like, maybe it just feels like that because Disney has sort of solidified their stranglehold on everything right now, and maybe that'll pass over the course sometime in the next few years. I mean, they're already planning the 5th and 6th Avengers movies, and I mean, we don't need that. Endgame and Infinity War were long enough. I mean, I don't know. I hope this passes, and I hope that an entire new crop of brilliant filmmakers take over, and there's someone to sort of pass the torch on to, because, like I said, things are looking a little odd right now, and everything's sort of gone sideways. But yeah, so tonight I'm here to discuss Béla Tarr's final film, and that is The Turin Horse. Now, the story is about, a cab driver, essentially, and his daughter. His cab, of course, is a overtly abused horse who, by this point, has decided to stop working. I'm guessing because of the neglect and the abuse. And so him and his daughter, they live in the middle of nowhere during what is apparently the end of the world. There is a relentless, punishing, endless wind that just keeps hammering down, and it makes an already difficult existence that much more stressful and hard to deal with. And these two people, they live as simply as possible, I guess is the best way of putting it. They subsist off a diet of what appears to be potatoes and water from their well out front. And the father, he's somewhat disabled, his one arm doesn't work, so he requires the assistance of his daughter in pretty much every activity, whether that's getting the horse ready for work, taking the horse, getting the horse ready for to be stored away in the stables. At the end of the day, he needs help getting dressed. She, in a lot of ways, she is sort of the second workhorse in this scenario, because I found that a lot of the responsibility of the day-to-day chores fall on the daughter because of her father's disability. Now, this movie, it kicks off with, apparently Nietzsche, as in Friedrich Nietzsche, saw this horse being beaten by this old man, and that was sort of the last straw before he uttered the words, "Mother, I am a fool," and then he sort of slipped off into incoherence and catatonia. And that was it for the rest of Nietzsche's life. He would spend the next decade being cared for by friends and family until he eventually passed away. Now, historically speaking, there is no precedence here. There is no truth necessarily to this horse being sort of the catalyst or the final straw, for Nietzsche's downfall. There's nothing like that, but nonetheless, that is what Tarr was going for here. And I think it's a really unique way to sort of start the end of the world, potentially, is with Nietzsche losing his mind because he saw a horse getting its ass kicked. That is a really unique setup for a film. And this, if this is Béla Tarr's final film, he went out on an incredible high note. I believe there's 25 or 26 really long shot scenes in this where you just essentially watch the farmer or the horse riding cab driver and his daughter slowly sort of slip out of existence and succumb to possibly starvation throughout the course of these 26 static and very long, drawn out, painful yet brilliant scenes. A lot of them consisting of them just staring out of the window where they live, sort of coming to terms with how this is all life is going to bring for them, and how they're just losing interest in getting up every day and doing the same thing over and over again. Now, at one point, one of the father's friends show up, and he goes on this rant where they have taken over the world and everything has been debased and debased and debased, and how the world is over, it belongs to them now. And it's never really made clear exactly who they or them are. And yet, shortly-ish after the friend comes and goes, a group of gypsies show up, and the father tells them to get lost. And as they're leaving, they all yell out how this is their world now. It's no longer his world, it's not his daughter's world anymore. The world belongs to them. So I don't know if his friend was pointing the finger directly at, say, the Romani, or his them was different than the gypsies' views on their idea of them being them as in themselves. I'm not sure, but either way, things are getting worse. Things are steadily going from bad to worse, sorry. And what happens shortly after they come across the band of gypsies, the gypsies come back and empty the well of all the water, which prompts the father to say, okay, we have to leave. So him and his daughter, they move on to this other sort of derelict, beaten down piece of shit place, building, where they choose to live. And that's where the film ends, is at this new location. But by this point, if I'm not mistaken, the winds have died down, but that doesn't seem to matter much because things just keep falling apart. And so maybe the world actually is ending, maybe the world isn't ending. I'm not 100%. I will argue that that wind that is so pervasive and so invasive and so commanding throughout 7/10 of this film, you do get sort of an apocalyptic sense because of it. The movie officially ends on a long shot of them sitting at a table with staring at their raw potatoes, and the father saying the line, "We have to eat." And the daughter just kind of giving the look like, "No, actually we don't. I'm done with this." And then the father, he fumbles through eating somewhat, but then he stops too. So it's sort of like he's in silent agreement with his daughter, and they just sit there as the film slowly fades to black. And that reminds me too of how Hanneke's The White Ribbon ends. It's the same type of slow fade to black. And that's the end of this film. And this movie, I wouldn't categorize this movie as being depressing or downbeat. I would say this movie is dark and it's heavy, and I'm not sure exactly how to frame this movie. I don't know if it's a drama, I don't know if it's a period piece, I don't know if it's a thriller. Well, it's probably not a thriller. It could be seen as a horror film, could definitely be seen as a horror film, could also be seen as a period drama. Actually, I suppose it could be seen as a thriller now that I'm thinking about it. It'd be thrilling having to eat raw potatoes 3 times a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your existence. Coupled with the wind and the fact that you can't make money anymore because your workhorse doesn't want to work because it's tired of the abuse and the neglect. You know what? The old guy really should have just treated the horse better. They might have had a little more money. They could have went out and got themselves like a TV or some shit, you know? Could have spent the rest of their days watching movies on Netflix. But that wasn't meant to be. And seeing as how, yeah, this is pushing 10 minutes, I am going to stop. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for almost 10 minutes while I discuss Béla Tarr's possible final film, and that is The Turin Horse. If you liked this 10-minute discussion, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. Either way, I really appreciate you guys sticking around. As of this point in the end of July 2022, I believe I have 18 subscribers, so thank you to each and every one of the 18 of you who have chosen to subscribe to this channel. I really appreciate it. Have a good night. I just wanted to say thank you for making it through the entire video. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to remind everyone one more time, even though I've probably already done this in the video that you just watched, to please click the like button as well as the subscribe button because it helps this channel grow. And thank you for hitting like and subscribe, and we will see you guys really soon.